Did you know that one of history's greatest generals, Hannibal Barca, fought his final battle on African soil? This is the story of Africa's battlefields, not just as sites of colonial conflict, but as crucibles of innovation, resistance, and empire. We often see Africa as a passive recipient of outside forces. But the truth is far more complex. African armies clashed with each other, reshaped continents, and challenged global powers. Let's start in North Africa, 202 BC. The Battle of Zama. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general who had terrorized Rome for years, faced Scipio Africanus. This clash near Zama Regia in modern-day Tunisia was more than just a battle, it was a showdown between two empires. Hannibal's forces, though weakened by years of campaigning in Italy, included fearsome war elephants that had once struck fear into the hearts of Roman legionaries. But Scipio had learned from Hannibal's tactics. The Romans cleverly opened their ranks, allowing the elephants to pass through while unleashing a hail of javelins. The battle was brutal, a bloody struggle between two titans. Ultimately, Scipio's strategic brilliance and Rome's superior resources won the day. Zama marked the end of the Second Punic War and the death of Carthage's ambitions as a Mediterranean superpower. Fast forward 2 millennia to a very different battlefield, Adwa, in the highlands of Ethiopia, March 1, 1896. Emperor Menelik II and Empress Tetubotu stood against the Italian army of General Oreste Baratieri. This wasn't just a clash of armies, it was a collision of worlds. Italy, hungry for colonial glory, sought to conquer Ethiopia. But they underestimated the Ethiopians' resolve. Menelik had modernized his army, procuring modern rifles from European sources. More importantly, he had united the diverse regions of Ethiopia, forging a national army estimated at over 100,000 soldiers. The Battle of Adwa was a stunning victory for Ethiopia. The Italian forces were decisively defeated, their colonial ambitions crushed. Adwa became a symbol of African resistance, proving that European powers could be beaten. Empress Tetubeto's influence was crucial. She was not just a figurehead, but a key strategist influencing the war effort. From the highlands of Ethiopia, we move south to Isandlwana, in present-day KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, January 22, 1879. Here, the Zulu kingdom, under King Sethwel, faced the might of the British Empire. The British, confident in their technological superiority, invaded Zululand. But they made a fatal mistake. They failed to properly fortify their camp at Isandlwana. The Zulu army, employing the classic horns of the buffalo encirclement tactic, overwhelmed the British forces. Over 1,300 British soldiers were killed, one of the worst defeats ever inflicted on a modern European army by an African force. Isandlwana sent shockwaves through the British Empire. It was a stark reminder that even the most powerful armies could be defeated by a determined and well-organized foe. But the Zulu victory was short-lived. The British eventually regrouped and, through a combination of superior firepower and strategic maneuvering, defeated the Zulu kingdom later that year. Now, let's jump forward to the late 20th century and a battlefield far removed from the colonial conflicts of the past, Quito-Cornevale, in southeastern Angola. Here, from 1987 to 1988, a complex and multifaceted conflict played out between the MPLA government of Angola, backed by Cuba and the Soviet Union, and UNITA rebels, supported by South Africa. Quito-Cornevale became a focal point in the Cold War proxy conflict that raged across Africa. The battle was a stalemate, a grinding war of attrition that neither side could decisively win. But its political consequences were far-reaching. It is often seen as a turning point in the regional wars of Southern Africa, leading to negotiations that resulted in Namibia's independence and the withdrawal of South African forces from Angola. However, the interpretation of Quito-Cornevale remains hotly debated. Some see it as a decisive victory for the Cuban and Angolan forces, while others argue it was merely a stalemate. Regardless, its impact on the region is undeniable. From the jungles of Angola, we travel north to the desert of Egypt, to El Alamein. Here, In 1942, two pivotal battles were fought that would shape the course of World War II in North Africa. The first battle in July was a holding action. But the second battle, from October 23 to November 11, was decisive. General Bernard Montgomery's Allied forces clashed with Field Marshal Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps. El Alamein was a battle of attrition, a clash of massive armored forces. The Allied victory at El Alamein marked a turning point in the North African campaign, halting Axis expansion eastward and paving the way for the eventual Allied victory in the region. From the sands of Egypt to the plains of Sudan, we arrive at Omdurman, September 2, 1898. Here, Sahabat Kitchener's Anglo-Egyptian forces faced the muddiest Sudanese army under Abdallah ibn Muhammad, known as the Khalifa. Omdurman was a stark example of the devastating power of industrial-age weaponry. The British used Maxim guns, artillery, and modern rifles to inflict horrific casualties on the muddiest forces. Over 10,000 Sudanese warriors were killed, while Anglo-Egyptian losses were minimal. Omdurman became a symbol of imperial military superiority, but it also exposed the brutal asymmetry of colonial warfare. Now we turn to a lesser-known, but equally significant battle, Gura, in present-day Eritrea, March 7 to 10, 1876. Here, the Ethiopian Empire under Emperor Yohannes IV decisively defeated Egyptian forces under Ratib Pasha. This was a major setback for Egyptian expansionist ambitions in the Horn of Africa, part of a larger struggle between Ethiopia and Egypt in the 1870s. This conflict was tied to Ottoman Egyptian ambitions in the Red Sea region. Finally, let us journey back in time to West Africa, to Karina, traditionally dated to 1235. Here, near the present-day border of Mali and Guinea, the forces of Sundiata Keita clashed with those of Sumaro Kante. This battle is shrouded in legend and known primarily through oral tradition. But its significance is undeniable. Sundiata's victory at Karina is considered the foundational event in the creation of the Mali Empire, one of the most powerful and influential empires in West African history. As we've seen, African battle history is far more complex and multifaceted than often portrayed. It includes not only resistance to colonial powers, but also conflicts between African states and empires. It is a story of innovation, adaptation, and resilience, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of adversity.